We can work through an example to help illustrate a Porter's 5 forces in practice. Let's stick with our supermarket example from earlier. We can start by looking at barriers to entry. Overall, there are moderate to high barriers to entry in the industry, meaning there is a significant amount of capital that's required to get going. Think about inventory and the cost of a prime location that's large enough to run this type of business. It's not nearly as expensive as starting, say, an airline, but the grocery business definitely has a moderate capital requirement. It also has moderate to high levels of regulation, given they're dealing with food. Understanding and complying with safety regulations make it harder to start than a hair salon, for example. In general, the industry also has a lot of big regional chains, which means there are a lot of serious competitors in the industry, and these larger players also create barriers to entry due to their economies of scale. When we look at buyers and their bargaining power, they have high bargaining power. Think about it. You can change one product for another, one store for another, one location for another. There are generally many choices for consumers in this industry, including high-end specialty offerings, low-cost discount stores, and pretty much everything in between. Historically, the threat of substitutes would have been low. It's arguably low to maybe moderate now. Increasingly, there are substitutes to going to a grocery store, including meal kits and the wider availability of takeout options, particularly in more urban settings. The increased prevalence of grocery delivery services may either be a positive or a negative, depending on where the third-party provider sources its groceries. It's likely that supermarkets will continue to play some role in our lives, since exclusively eating takeout is not particularly cost-effective or healthy for the average family, so true ongoing substitutes are probably fairly low. When it comes to supplier power, grocery stores have relatively low bargaining power, unless they are truly a global or international grocer that would have some leverage with its suppliers. Consolidation on the food supplier side has outpaced that of the more fragmented grocery business, which has a lot of smaller and mid-sized chains. They really lack bargaining power with suppliers, as a general rule. Overall, market concentration is high, and the competition is also high. So when we take all of this together, it's definitely a challenging industry. And this is reflected in the margin structure of the grocery business. It's notoriously low as a result. Counterbalancing the low margins, however, is less sensitivity to economic cycles. Remember that supermarkets are a consumer staple business, so they're a little more stable than, say, high-end automobiles, which is a consumer discretionary business. These tend to have higher margins, but much greater sensitivity to cyclicality. As an analyst, you'll want to be considering all of this when you're building projection or valuation models, or when analyzing the creditworthiness of a prospective borrower, for example.